Hi, I'm Len Hardy of LTAD Sport and Fitness, and I wanted to put up this video for you today as it pertains to rest and recovery. And so this is really a good one for parents of youth athletes and certainly coaches of youth athletes to kind of hear and kind of think about, right? So rest and recovery is kind of really that one thing that we all know that is supposed to achieve and we're supposed to do, but yet I think we all fall short on that, certainly for our youth athletes. And I don't know if we listen to them enough or if they don't even just understand themselves. But really, think about rest and recovery as that fourth leg of a four-legged stool. The three-legged stool comprising of nutrition, strength training, and injury prevention, along with like aerobic and conditioning, will stand. But if you don't have rest and recovery, it's much weaker. And so there are two types of rest and recovery. There's short-term and there's long-term. Short-term recovery are really those hours immediately following intense activity, and this is like the ideal time for the post-nutrition side of things to come into play, where we're replenishing our fluids that were lost during activity, and we're putting back in the energy stores that we need to be ready to go the next time that we have to be active. Long-term recovery is really thinking about the days, weeks, and months of a plan or of a season or of a yearly activity for youth athletes. And so that is where we want to be thinking about where does the recovery and the rest come into play. And so how intense our practice is. What is the duration of the practices? How do we manipulate that so that athletes do have their recovery so that they don't wear down, go into overtraining, and then really ultimately become injured, and then it's a lose-lose for everybody. So kind of thinking about those things, it's important for us to look at, okay, so how much activity is our athlete or getting every week? So the general figure is that a youth member of the youth population, anywhere from, we'll say, 6 to 17 years old, they should be obtaining about 60 minutes a day of vigorous activity. So if you think about the typical athlete, and I say typical because there's certainly athletes that are going to be a little bit more about what I talk about, a little bit less, but generally most athletes are participating in 1 to 2 activities in a season, whether it's a sport and then something else, or if it's multiple sports. They're getting in roughly 10 to 13 hours a week of vigorous activity. Now that's almost up to double the amount, okay? And so when you think about kind of this, our American model in most sports having club teams and stuff like that, having tournaments on weekends, they're getting multiple opportunities to participate in activity on multiple days in a row. And so then you go for a whole week of practices and games. You go through a weekend where maybe there's 2 games each day on a Saturday and Sunday, and then they start in a whole another week. There is no break for them. And so we have this thought process of more touches, the better athlete. However, all we're doing is ultimately we're slowing them down. Literally physiologically, they become slower. Most sports are explosive and quick sports, but yet our muscles have no time to recover, so they go into this mode of, I just have to perform endurance, so I can't be explosive. So we are actually slowing our athletes down because they're playing more, and we're putting them at risk for an injury. So we really need to think about kind of how much activity we are doing for our kids and for our athletes, and really allowing them to recover. And so there's a few ways that we can kind of monitor this, and we can really get some positive feedback in our sessions without even them having to be active. And I'll talk about that in another video. So rest and recovery. Let's make sure our athletes and our kiddos get it. And until next time, I'm Len, and game on.